Ms. Cox, I want to, of course, thank you for your service and for your testimony today. The question that I have for you is around the fact that while you were serving in the CAF, we know that you've talked a lot today about the toxic exposure that you had. So I'm just curious, were you provided with appropriate PPE, and how did they work with you when you were pregnant in terms of protecting you?
They didn't. They didn't. Like I said before, I had to fight tooth and nail to get space away from PRC, which is the first thing that it attacks the brain. I had to go to a medical doctor and fight for that. Once I came back, I asked to be off the flight line. And they said, no, an office is enough. And I knew it wasn't enough because the airlines in Bagotville don't pass the air test. So they empty the building so that the painters paint at night because the building is not adequate. What was your other question, Mrs.?
And did you get appropriate PPE?
No. I remember fixing radomes. I fix radomes a lot, and it's heat, and you are grinding burnt fibers inside the radome, produced by static electricity, and it is fiberglass. So you're in that dome with the fiberglass, zoom, doing that, and having to clean with ketone, which actually melts gloves. And that repair asks 3 or 4 days of doing that, and it's hot. My mask would go down. Smallest 3M I could find, my mask would go down, and as it go down, it creates pockets of air where I was breathing direct, burnt, carcinogenic fibers directly into my lungs.
So to follow up on that, in terms of transition, so when you did your medical release, did they do anything to look at those realities? Did you get a hazmat medical?
No, and I requested one. I requested a hazmat medical. I requested a list of hazmat products that were cancerogenic. I requested that. I was not provided with any of it.
So you were released without a hazmat medical.
Without a hazmat medical.
So I would assume then, and clarify if I'm wrong, that if you don't have that as part of your release when you're actually accessing services at VAC, is there any recognition of that background or any medical that VAC provided?
They'll recognize, oh, you might have knee problems, you might have heel problems or back problems, but on no level do they acknowledge that a guy can get prostate cancer or you can get brain cancer, pancreatic cancer. The thing is that all these toxic materials attack the organs.
Okay.
Once they attack the organs.
So in general, I'm just curious, you talked about your 3 children. So during the transition, do you feel that how that was performed impacted in any way your children? And does VAC provide any concrete support for them?
No. At no point in my transition period was my family required to transition themselves. In my opinion, there should be, the military's transitioning, but the family's also transitioning. The money is going to be a little insecure, whatever. So it's not the military. It might have been a single military getting in, but usually when we're getting out, we have a family and we have a husband, we have kids. So those need to be involved in that to the extent that they can understand why mom is so sick, why, they haven't been told. My kids only think, oh, you don't work, you're a housewife. It's one thing. I was like, well, I did work before, but they're not explained. My husband was not explained was the process exactly. And in my transition, he had to go to staff college So now I'm transitioning. He's at staff college, and kids weren't doing well. And my daughter ended up being presented with self-mutilation marks from her thigh to her ankle. And all this chaos was part of that. I was unable to find her a therapist because Veterans Affairs would just tell me, well, phone this number, just phoning. I wasn't able until I had a critical care nurse at home phoning and using her RN at the end of her name to get me in, to get Sydney in. And she was still so extremely hard to find help for the children.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you, for your participation or for your important contribution to this study, Transition to Civilian Life. And Madame Vicky Lynn Cox, merci aussi et beaucoup de courage aussi pour la suite.
Thank you very much for all of your courage, and we wish you all the best in the future. You were a technician in aeronautics. We thank you very much for your testimony, and thank you, Mr. Booth, who is in charge of his foundation of True Patriot Love. Thank you so much for having been with us today.